Welcome to Keepin' It Real, your go-to radio show for fresh insights and vibrant introductions. Get ready to dive into a world where we offer you the latest in real estate wisdom and the juiciest community tidbits. From expert advice courtesy of top realtors to opportunities to give back through local charities, we've got you covered. Plus, we'll shine a spotlight on the young athletes driving our local sports scene and uncover the buzzworthy happenings both in town and beyond. Stay tuned for a jam-packed hour of enlightenment and entertainment right here on Keepin' It Real.
What's in a name? Everything. Long Realty has been a cornerstone of Southern Arizona's real estate market for nearly 100 years. Our name is our bond, and our agents are our strength. Trust in the name that stands for experience and expertise. Visit longrealty.com or call 520-459-4993 to connect with an agent today. Long Realty. Smart move.
In a town with heart and history, the Sherry Ethell Team is the key. Serving service that we agree. For military law and retirees. Stress-free process you will see. Personal care is our guarantee. Real integrity, real results. The Sherry Ethell Team, we never halt. Real experts here to guide your way, making dreams come true every single day. Trusted team that knows just what to do. The Sherry Ethell Team, working for you. Real integrity, real results. The Sherry Ethell Team is your one and only call.
All right, I'm joined today in the studio with some familiar faces. You've probably heard them on the radio today. Joined with my co-host, Sean Yeterian, the Arizona Yeti. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And I've got the Cyber Eye guys, Tom Jewkes and Dan Gavin here, and we're talking about AI today. Once a month, we try to get together and talk about AI, some of the things that we're seeing, advancements, but also just to have that kind of open conversation, open dialogue. So, Sean, where do you want to start off our conversation today? What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what. I think it was in the last episode, one of these two fine gentlemen described our get-together as a bunch of guys sitting around the poker table.
Yeah.
It was Dan.
And it seems very apropos, especially for this episode, because we're going to call this an AI free-for-all. So I'll see your AGI, and I'll raise it Anthropic Claude's consciousness. There's so many topics out there. Of course, it's a tsunami, and it seems that every day there's a new discovery. There's something else happening. So we're just going to throw it around the table and find out what you guys want to talk about, and I have a few topics myself. So where do you want to start?
So there were a couple of things. The first one was, I just discovered it this week. I was watching a video, and somebody has built a website called isaiprofitableyet.com. Have you seen that?
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, that's a fascinating website because apparently the only company that's making a profit on AI is NVIDIA, the one making the hardware chips for AI. Yeah. Everybody else is billions in the red. So that was kind of where my thoughts were going to start with. But I also, this morning, I was listening to another YouTube video. This was an interesting development. The South Korean stock market, called the Kospi, entered a technical bear market. The Kospi index plummeted 30% from its all-time high.
30%, that's huge.
Yeah. So apparently it has to do with AI capital expenditure reassessment. Basically, the Korean stock market tumbled by 30%.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's gigantic.
So the video that I was listening to, the podcaster was saying that could be the canary in the coal mine for the U.S. stock market that is tech heavy. Right?
Sure.
So this 30% correction in the Korean stock market was predominantly because of Samsung. Yeah, that is the majority of that index fund is Samsung stock. So Samsung decided, you know what? We're not making any money on AI, so we're going to slow down our capital expenditures. That's all they had to say was we were spending $5 trillion. Now we're going to spend 2% less. And something as little as that caused their stock market to tumble 30%. And so the speculation was, well, what happens to the U.S. stock market if Microsoft suddenly goes, you know what, we're going to slow down our CapEx by 2%?
I wonder if these are the same, though, because in the U.S. market, we're at a much higher level, higher position, right? In fact, I was reading they actually have had more money made in the AI market than ever before in like the last month. The most money in the tech industry ever. But they're still losing money because they're over investing.
Well, and that's the thing.
Everybody's
that's
in a
the thing
race.
that's really confusing to me is if you look at that website, is AI profitable?
Yeah.
They're spending trillions, and they're not making it like they're making a couple million off of it. So they're
betting on the come.
Yeah.
In the poker table, right?
Well, this reminds me of the gold mining back in the day, right?
Sure.
The California gold rush. Now, who made all the money? Levi Strauss selling picks and shovels and jeans, right? So, but in this case, but you got to think they're looking to see what we're going to do 2 years from now. I don't really care what I mean, this is the way businesses should run.
Right.
I don't really care what next quarter is going to look like. I care what my pipeline is going to look like 2 years from now, 5 years from now. And that's what I'm making now.
So there's something called AI Futures Project. I would encourage anybody listening who really wants to get into this stuff. It's an easy rabbit hole to fall completely into, and I fell into it this week. But it's a lot of these top guys who either fell away from Google, they fell away from OpenAI. They started this company, a nonprofit, and all they do is crunch numbers and they project futures. Some of their stuff where they kind of model it and they look at, well, if this happens, this could happen, and they kind of play it out in like almost a story mode. It reads like a Tom Clancy movie without people, just virtual, and how all these AI agents are working and thinking, hundreds of them, thousands, maybe millions. It's very, very interesting, and so I would encourage you to do it. But one of the things that it kind of talks about that is just some of the stuff that you're talking about, Dan. Everybody's betting on the future, so much so that they have to look at it like odds. And it's like, well, if we don't do this, we don't overinvest now, we could be out of business tomorrow. So we have to. And everybody's just racing.
Yeah.
And
you don't want to be the next Blockbuster.
Right.
Is this at all comparable to the .com boom, 1999?
Totally.
And is this an AI bubble? And Dan's vigorously nodding his head. And what happens? Like, is it going to pop? And if it does, what happens? That's terrifying.
Well, what do you mean by pop? I mean, what would be... Because there are some companies that, in fact, I was looking at Hanson Robotics, right? Big name. They were creating these facial features, really realistic robots. And they're still out there. They didn't go out of business. But the facial thing just didn't stick. So now they're like toast.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Yeah. Yeah. And even though they even created like, I can't remember the name of it, but like some kind of a fake, it's like this rubbery skin. And they even went to so far as developing this whole product line. Now it's obsolete. Probably. Maybe it'll come back. I don't know.
It'll certainly come back, but it's not going to be in the near term because they're running into issues as far as brain functionality.
Yeah.
I mean, I was one of those people who said, yes, as soon as that Optimus 3 comes out onto the market, I'm going to buy one. Yeah. You know, but I did a little bit more research into it, and you know what? They can't even fold clothes right. Their functionality is still challenged, and they need to work on the neural networks of these robots so that they can function better. If I buy a robot in 2027, which is when they're supposed to come out commercially, and upgrades to the brain functionality, in other words, AI updates come out, do I have to buy a new robot? And the answer is, the answer is only if it's hardware. If it's software, it can be downloaded into your purchased robot. Okay, well, that's good news.
For a small subscription fee.
Exactly.
You know it's going to cost money.
Yeah, so the question is how much money is it going to cost in order to get your upgrades, and what will be the difference between the first iteration and upgrade 2, then 3, then 3.1? You know, you're probably going to have to pay a certain amount of money just to be able to make your robot fold better clothes.
Mm-hmm. Well, 100%.
So that's a little scary.
They'll
right now.
probably be selling like different things, add-ons, you know? Like
totally.
You can do the clothing fold, you can do these basic housekeeping functions, but if you want the gardening function, you've got to do this whole other upgrade.
Your robot will say, I'm just an AI robot with a subscription to fold clothes. I'm sorry, I can't work in the garden yet.
The good news is you can automatically upload for a fee. You can download your credit card right away and
then
build it.
What happens when the robot suddenly stops folding and looks at you and starts spewing an ad?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
you can go ad free for a subscription.
Exactly. I think.
I hope it's not like that.
I think I saw that on a TV show. Something almost exactly like that. Except it was a brain implant. And the guy's wife started spewing out ads because they weren't willing to pay the subscription to make her ad-free. So, so he went insane.
All right, so let me ask you this. So for like 30 years or so, plus or minus, we can probably agree that we've been in this kind of information age since the beginning of the internet. All this access to scads of information, it's gotten more and more and more and more. But are we now going into the intelligence age?
Oh, I totally think we're already there.
We're already
in the intelligence. It's one thing to have information, but to have actionable information and to actually do something about it automatically. We're there in military systems. We're there in financial systems. It's already happening.
Well, I think that we're probably already there, but I also think that there's a lot of dependency on older systems, the .com systems, the Google searches, which irritate the heck out of me. I got to tell you, when I'm looking for one thing and it gives me 3 billion possibilities and the best possible answer is the 1 billionth, I'm not going to make it there. So I think that's why AI transformation is going to get you to the answer you need much faster.
Yeah.
And so we're going to transition from .com type of search engines to more immediate answers, I think.
I think in the next 6 months even, we might be coming into the AI revolution, really. People are walking away from the traditional search engines and now going to this AI platform. So I think we're just on the verge of that, just being the way it is.
That's curious, because if I had to pin down a percentage, I'd say less than 1% of what I look for is I use a Google search. Almost everything is done through the encrypted AI that I use. Guess what I don't see? I don't see ads. And so what's going to happen to Google? I mean, Google's platform is based on delivering ads to you, targeted ads. And I mean, at what point are we going to fire up the prompt to the AI and you get an ad at the beginning of the response? I mean, it has to go that way.
Good question. I don't know. They're going to have to find some way to monetize it, right?
Mm-hmm. On the bright side, if you can call it a bright side, companies like Anthropic, Google, Microsoft, every chat prompt you put in is logged, and all of that is assigned to your user account. And so a profile already exists
for you as an individual.
Yeah. And so the AI already knows what you're asking about and building a profile of your life, and so it can easily target you.
Oh yeah.
So you were wondering about monetizing. You just explained how it's going to be monetized, right?
Totally.
Sell to brokers.
Yeah. Gosh, that information would be priceless, really.
Totally.
Because it knows more than just, it knows you philosophically.
Yeah, because how many
people... Like what motivates you.
How many people use AI as a therapist?
Right.
How many people are asking those prompts that are intimate prompts that you would only ask a therapist? And then the AI responds with, well, I'm not a therapist, but, and then it responds.
Yeah.
Now, if you're talking to a real therapist, there's a doctor-patient confidentiality law that protects that, not with the AI. So now you're revealing all of your deepest, darkest secrets to the AI, and it's all in a database that's queryable.
Yep. You're right, Dan. I mean, that's got to be the
You'll
key
just
to
sell it to dating sites.
Maybe if you found somebody on a dating site, you can go to this service and query or prompt for the name of the person you're about to date to get a psychological profile on that person.
Oh my. Let's hold it right there. Let's come back to it. Let's take a quick break. The Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty. This is Keepin' It Real, and this is our AI conversation. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
Discover excellence in real estate with the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty, your premier choice in Cochise County. Sherry's amazing team brings honesty, expertise, and a deep understanding of the local market. Whether you're a first-time buyer or a seasoned homeowner, they're committed to your peace of mind and handle every detail for you. Their approach? Personalized service. Above and beyond transactional real estate, building lifelong relationships, nationwide connections, local expertise. There's a reason this team is amongst the top realtors in Arizona and across the nation. You owe it to yourself to call or visit the Sherry Ethell Team, the top team at Long Realty, behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard in Sierra Vista. Call or text 717-599-2439 or Google us for more info. Real integrity, real results.
All right, welcome back to the Keepin' Real radio show. I'm Dion Ethell, joined with Sean Yeterian, the Arizona Yeti, and we are co-hosting today with Cyber Eye, Dan Gavin, and Tom Jewkes. We've been talking about so much already. Where do we go from here?
Yeah,
I know this is kind of a free-for-all today.
Well, it's a swamp is what it is.
There's so much information. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah, and trying to wade through it. And while we were on break, the idea was that we asked a lot of questions, but we provided no answers. and that's important for the listeners to understand, is we aren't here to provide answers. We're here to provide awareness so that they understand what's coming. Because you can not like AI, you can love AI, you can use it, you can not use it. But to ignore it, I think, is going to be detrimental sometime in the future. Maybe next week, maybe a couple of years from now, but if you just turn a blind eye to it, I think that it will probably be your undoing. That's what we're trying to do here. We aren't giving answers. We have no idea what the answers to most of these questions are. We can speculate, we can connect the dots, we can project out, but the absolute answers, well, that's something that we don't have.
Well, the interesting thing, though, too, honestly, just like Dan and I were talking about before the show, he and I were talking about just the fact that even the experts in the actual industry, they can't all agree. Those guys are from the field. Those guys were at the cutting edge. The frontier is, I keep hearing this, frontier. They're at the frontier level, so they're at the cutting edge of this, and they can't agree. Even their models, we were talking about it, the timelines just keep moving up.
It's moving so fast.
Yeah.
Being on the optimist side of the fence, the one thing I try and continuously remind people, don't focus so much on the areas that make you angry, which is the creative area. And everybody's focused on that. Oh, it's fake. It's not real. That's not a real photograph. This is AI-generated video, blah, blah, blah. And they're right. The music isn't, it's all AI-generated. Got it. We understand. But if that's the only thing that makes you hate AI, then you're missing out on the explorations that are being conducted right now. And I got something in front of me that should open some people's eyes. Bristol Myers Squibb announced that they're acquiring NVIDIA's newest Vera Rubin-based DGX SuperPod for drug research. It's a first life sciences company to adopt the system. Right now, they're using AI in order to develop potential cures, and their efficiency has improved drug production by as much as 30% with what they have, and the capability of 50% faster. They'll save billions of dollars in drug production, and it's only a fraction of the time in order to get to potential solutions. It doesn't take away the regulatory requirements, so it won't be fast, but as far as the research and development is concerned, it will be tremendously faster. Does this mean that the patient will benefit at a less expense because it didn't cost nearly as much to produce it? I don't know the answer to that.
Usually it takes years to get to, from research and clinical trials and all that to actually get to the consumer. We see that already advancing, getting it faster and faster. Is anybody worried about the fact that we're moving that up, and how is that being achieved?
Boy, when Sean brought this up, I could the gears in Dan's head started turning so fast, it sounds like a Whipple supercharger.
I'm conflicted here, right? So the first thing I thought was, now that it'll be that much faster to poison us, is what I was thinking. But then I was thinking, on the optimistic side, using AI, they might find other more effective natural ways to heal people instead of keep people on drugs their entire life, right? Everything's a subscription policy, including your drugs, right? So if we could get AI to give us an absolute cure for whatever it is, then that would be something. And there's a lot out there, like we talked last time with the youth movement that's going on in science to get you younger.
The term is longevity escape velocity. Dr. David Sinclair out of Harvard University is already developing human trials in order to cure blindness. He's had a lot of success. He was able to make blind mice see again, and now he's trying it with human patients. And we're talking about cellular regeneration, where your cells become youthful again. And that is just the antithesis of what entropy is all about.
Yeah.
We deteriorate, cells die, and that's it. And eventually we do too. So this is about the ability to reverse that.
Did he make all 3 blind mice see?
Right.
I couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
Couldn't help it. Couldn't resist.
So what I was wondering on that is when we're talking about AI, you first started talking about making better drugs and making them faster.
Sure.
But it just goes to show you, and I was thinking, let's stop doing the things the way we've done it for the last 100 years that have gotten the United States sicker and sicker, and redirect AI for a different solution. All those solutions that were hidden years ago because they don't make enough money.
I think some of that will probably naturally happen, though, because of the way AI is working now. You know, we talked about this on a previous show where you have AI employees, basically, but now they're talking about them as AI agents, right? And now you have, as you reach this new plateau of superhuman capability, you have these superhuman agents. Some of them are researchers. Some of them are analysts. Some of them are doing very specific roles in that process. But imagine if you had equivalent to a company of 100,000 people, and they were all expert scientists working 24/7, 365 days a week, just looking at every bit of data that has ever been assembled to find new connections.
According to Bristol Myers, one of the things that they have discovered through the use of AI is a therapy for sickle cell. They have a therapy for it, a treatment for it. It has not been vetted yet, so it hasn't gone through the bottleneck and bureaucracy of the FDA to make it to market. To your point, I think what we're working right now, to use a military term, is we're shooting at 50-meter targets. We have a capability, and we are looking at how can that benefit me and my company now in the near term. That 300-meter target, which is way out there, it won't be until that target moves up to 50 meters before they actually use it.
You mentioned this NVIDIA chip. I was talking with some friends from the tech field, and we were talking about how far ahead are you? I just keep wondering. And one of the things we talked about was this photolithography. That's part of the process in this chip manufacturing. And imagine it if you were printing newspapers, right? If your printer could only print like 1-inch letters, you wouldn't have very many words on a page. But now imagine that you had technology that could shrink that down to a grain of sand. How many pieces of information could you put on a single page? That same kind of principle applies. And what they're doing is they're building billions of these microscopic transistors. What's interesting is that the smaller these are, the better, because more transistors then fit on a chip. The chip performs more calculations. It uses less energy, less heat. The fact that you have a smartphone in your hand, you know, that's that technology working for you, but it's going to continue to get smaller. And we were talking about this before. The leading company, the ASML out of Netherlands, you know, what do those machines look like? They're 180 tons, these machines. And they're one of the most complex machines on the planet ever devised by humans, which I thought was interesting because you don't hear about them. And I was just like, wow. And we were talking about even the mirrors on these devices. The flaws have to be looked at the atomic level to see them. That's the kind of level of technology that we're at. But few people even realize that we're already there. And it's happening in the background. We're, you know, enjoying a cheeseburger over at McDonald's or whatever. And meanwhile, AI just took leaps and bounds in the medical field.
Exactly.
And it's just staggering.
Yeah, minute by minute. I mean, we're talking about the medical field because I think most of the listeners are going to be very interested in what the future of their health might look like. Can I really reverse my age? If you can live 5-10 years, there is a real possibility. Ray Kurzweil, who I've brought up a couple of times on the show, who has an 83% accuracy rate on his predictions for the last 50 years on technology, which is pretty incredible, predicts it by 2030 2032, we will achieve, for every year you age, you don't gain that year. And by 2035, we will begin seeing the reversal of that age.
Wow.
So
like dog years then.
So, that's only, 8-9 years away. So if you can live 8-9 years from now, you might actually
hang in there, everybody.
Yeah, you might look 25 again.
So close.
But what happens when everybody looks 25 years old? It's like, I don't know. It's insane.
You made a good point, Dan. You drive carefully, Dan said. I don't know if you caught that. We see so many accidents right here in Sierra Vista.
Oh, God.
It's like, hey, hang in there just a little bit longer because amazing things are on the horizon. And they really are. And I don't think they talk about them enough. We're too busy regurgitating what already happened. We're not looking into the future often enough.
Well, there's so much going on in the future, Dion. And I'm going to tell you that another thing that fascinates me is AI has become quite the weather forecaster. Google Weather Next actually assisted in identifying that Hurricane Melissa from 2025 would increase from a Cat 1 to a Cat 5, and they did that almost a full week before that actually happened. What that does is give first responders and give local authorities the opportunity to prepare the community before it even made landfall. So what is that going to look like as this system improves? First of all, how does it work? What AI can do is go back to every recorded weather system, what happened before it, what happened after it. It can bring all that information together. We aren't capable of that as humans.
We can't do that kind of predictability.
We can't do that because that's just too much data synthesis that we aren't capable of doing that in a reliable way.
If AI can predict weather significantly better than weather people can predict weather, that's going to give guys my age nothing to talk about.
Boy, ain't that true. Let's take a quick break, guys. That's a good place for a break. We'll be right back, folks, with Keeping It Real and our discussion on artificial intelligence. We'll be right back.
Do uneasy markets have you waiting for the ideal moment to make home ownership a reality? Your answer lies in a conversation with Sherry Ethell and her exceptional team at Long Realty, a name synonymous with trust and reliability in Arizona's real estate landscape.
Hi, I'm Sherry Ethell, Realtor and Team CEO of the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty. Your ideal moment has arrived. We tailor our approach to you and your needs and goals. Let us put our extensive network to work for you and take the stress out of the process.
Whether buying or selling, remember the name Sherry Ethell and the Sherry Ethell Team. Visit the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard in Sierra Vista. Call or text 717-599-2439 or Google us for more information. Real integrity, real results.
All right, welcome back to Keeping It Real. This is Dion Ethell with Sean Yeterian, the Arizona Yeti, and our friends at CyberEye, Dan Gavin and Tom Jewkes. And we're talking about artificial intelligence, AI, talking about some of the great creations that have happened in the last month or so since we last spoke, and talking about just our thoughts on some of this stuff. And we talked about frontier AI being at the leading edge. I always think of it like if AI were a Ford F-150, the AI frontier, that's that prototype race car that nobody's seen yet. That's kind of like where we're at right now with AI.
It's a little frightening for a lot of people about the data centers and the amount of energy required in order to make AI run. Water, size, who's going to pay for it. You wrote a paper about it, about data center on the moon.
So there is a data center on the moon. It's been there a year, and it didn't make the news.
Yeah, what the heck? I mean, it's pretty small, but I was like, what? Yep.
So it's just a shoebox size data center, 8 terabytes, not humongous, but it's sitting out there doing its job. And it was just a prototype to see if, can we do this?
Can we do it? Yeah.
And then when I looked into it more, it's not the moon, because there's too much latency for the moon. They had to create a new protocol just because the moon takes so long to get there and back. But the world of Starlink is low Earth orbit satellites.
Yep,
and
that's
that
the next
is
thing.
the huge thing. So when I did that research, it was crazy because they already have a couple companies doing it before Starlink. But as far as you have to get a permit to put a satellite there in low Earth orbit. And what they're talking about is there's a couple companies that are doing like 10 or 20. There's a company that's doing 88,000.
Wow.
But SpaceX wants to do 1 million.
Wow, 1 million.
1 million. So since they're the ones right now that are 5 to 10 years ahead of everybody and launching the rockets to get there.
They own that space.
They own that space. So they are going to get there. And that's what I said earlier about growth. Elon Musk doesn't care what his next quarter looks like. He's looking 3 to 5 years down the road when he owns the infrastructure. And he's looking at putting data centers out there, even though to the point of, oh, it's too much water. Oh, my goodness. Right. So it takes about 650,000 gallons of water to run a data center for a year, a big one.
Really?
And that
I thought it'd be more.
Exactly, right? Because people are acting like that number is per day.
That's not.
That is not a lot. That is the amount of 10 residential houses. It's not that much. And once nuclear gets more advanced and with AI, that'll move forward faster or fission. Those data centers, they're going to be pushing energy into the grid once they do that. But getting back to the low Earth orbit, that's the big place, right? And right now, Falcon 9 starships have a relatively small payload. What they call the next generation is called a Starship.
Yeah.
And it is 3 times bigger payload than currently. So the key is to make it cheaper to get that low enough. Right now it's sitting at like $800 per kilogram.
Okay.
Well, once the magic number is like 500, and Elon Musk thinks in 3 years it's going to be way lower.
Hey, I want to provide internet coverage for the entire world, the whole globe, and at a cheap cost.
Everybody's like, you're crazy.
Like, no,
that'll never happen.
No way. And now look.
The other thing about the data centers in space is it's cheaper to have them out there doing long-term projects. So what they're doing up in space right now is training LLMs, because there's still a delay. It's not as bad as to the moon, but taking those data centers up there, using all that processing power to train large language models to make AI work better.
Does anybody have an opinion on how the worrywart epidemic has taken hold on so many people? Because there's a lot of debate where there shouldn't be debate.
I mean, there's a lot. Sean, when you say worrywart, which part of this are you talking?
Well, I'm talking about the fearmongers who are worried that data centers are going to cover the entire surface of the earth and take all of our water, and we're going to die of thirst.
Yeah, there's so many aspects of AI that have worrywarts.
Do you think that's because it's unknown, or because a lot of it is unknown?
Really, I think so. I've been reading a lot of things lately. I listened to a podcast this morning. It was the CEO for Signal. If you don't know what Signal is, it's like WhatsApp, but it's not as prone to privacy violations as WhatsApp. So the CEO for Signal was talking about this very thing. The conversation revolved mostly around what's going to happen to jobs, because that's a big question. That's the biggest wart that people are worrying about.
Sure. Right.
What's going to happen to my job? The person doing the interviewing, Niels Gilman was his name, and he wrote an article that I read. It was really fascinating. He compared this particular point in time with AI to cotton gin is coming to my head. It was the way we processed wool. It was a spinning jenny, and then they used a water wheel, something like that. I don't know anything about processing wool, but he said people who spun wool and got paid to spin wool, when there was a new way to process wool that was faster, they were terrified they weren't going to have a job anymore. Yeah. You can look at every industry that has made significant progress, and people are always worried about, well, that's my job. What am I going to do? And what has happened as a result? More jobs are created.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Or you could sell real estate.
Or you could
Hey, we'll be replaced too, I guarantee you. Do you think there's ever been a time where so many jobs, so many different areas of jobs could be potentially affected as this one?
No,
this is new, right?
Yeah. And so think about it in terms of a white collar job. Like, what kind of white collar jobs do you think about? A lot of it is data processing.
Of course, yeah.
Right? You take somebody who manually processes input, they do something with it, and they generate a report. Well, AI does that. That's what it does.
Yeah.
If you don't have to spend your time plunging through mountains of data and then figuring out what to do with it, write code that will process it and then generate a report on the backside, if you don't have to do that, what do you get to do? You get to do something else. You get to do something that your higher levels of cognition are something that you excel at, but AI is terrible at.
Yeah. creative juices are moving.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I even read something which I thought was interesting. You could have hundreds of these AI agents working, but their product is kind of sloppy. But there's great information gleaned from that, which other AI agents then can use and bring further along. But there's going to be opportunities, at least in the interim, for new positions. And eventually, though, I don't know, a lot of that goes away.
Well,
so we're going to have to replace it with something.
Right now, it's a bottom rung dilemma because entry level is really taking a hit already because AI is doing entry level stuff.
Yeah.
And so you don't need to hire that apprentice because what does a new hire do? So how do you get someone who has no experience integrated into the system? So they're talking about different ideas. For instance, joining them up on a fast track with an AI partner.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
So that they can move forward, but it's still going to reduce the amount of new entries, especially in the coming year or two. It's already happening.
I just had a thought about that, and I've been trying to figure that thing out. The whole bottom rung is getting chopped off the ladder with AI.
Yeah.
Where do these entry-level people come in? Well, I was just thinking about it as you were talking. Why do we hire apprentices? Let's think about this in terms of plumbing. What does a new plumbing apprentice do? What does he do? He digs ditches.
Right.
Why? Because the boss doesn't want to dig ditches because it's hard to dig ditches.
Right.
Well, if you have, let's say you have a robot that can dig ditches. Right. Does that mean the boss is not going to hire an apprentice anymore? No, he'll still hire the plumbing apprentice. He'll just have the plumbing apprentice do the next higher order thing that the boss doesn't want to do.
Right.
Like sweating copper. That's what we used to do, right? Well, maybe the boss doesn't want to sweat copper anymore. He'll hire an apprentice, teach him how to sweat copper, and the robot will dig the ditches. And so maybe if we can think of it in terms of that in an office setting, well, if we now have AI doing all the data entry and we don't have to hire apprentices to do it, what can the apprentice do now? Well, it's going to be the next step up that AI can't do, that the boss doesn't want to do.
But don't you think, I mean, there'll have to be another level of whether it be academic structure that helps train people up or it's
get somebody prepared.
Because a lot of that stuff that they do at the bottom rung is foundational to how they're going to grow within that skill set.
Yeah.
So if you remove that, how are you going to replace that?
Well, there is some things. So I got a friend of mine who's in the FAA. Well, he retired now, and he's an air traffic controller. I hope to have him on the show at some point to talk about that. But he was part of an interesting program. So if you remember back during the Reagan era, there was a whole bunch of air traffic controllers that were laid off, right? All at one time. Poof, gone. So you had this huge loss of people in that level. And they did something different than they'd ever done before. It used to be you had to start at a low-rung airport. You had to start the little guy, and manage a bunch of little Piper Cubs flying around, stuff like that, before you came to some place like LAX or something like that. Because they had so few people, they had to hire very fast, train up very fast, and they put them in these big airports. Some select people who had, whether they're test scores or their aptitudes or whatever, but they put these few people in these pilot programs in these big places, and guess what? They survived.
Planes didn't crash.
Yeah. What was talked about as this is the end of air traffic. We're doomed. Turned out to be not that big a deal.
Yeah.
It did work out.
So maybe the result will be that experts in their respective fields are going to look at what's the new entry point.
Yeah.
But I think is going to be a push for back to the trades, right?
There are going to be a lot.
I saw an interview the other day where for the data centers they're building and they're spending trillions of dollars of investment that are coming in, they need welders and electricians.
Mm-hmm.
So they talk about these 6 electricians that are working on this data center, and they all make about $240,000 a year.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Because they got poached 6 times in 18 months. Every one of them poached 6 times and got more money every time.
Because
there aren't enough
career
field.
Going in
we need welding and electricians.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true. You got to do that physical labor.
I watched a podcast. It was Mike Rowe. Remember Mike Rowe from the Dirty Jobs guy? Yeah. He was interviewing the CEO for Montana Knife Company. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. Mm-hmm. Bootstrapped this knife company. Like the knives are $350. And this guy was saying, you know what? If anybody asks me, what job should I go into? I would tell them, please go into learning to be a machinist. We don't have enough machinists and we need them. Because you know what? We offshored all of our manufacturing for decades. nobody's doing machinist work anymore.
Oh, wow.
And if we want to bring those jobs back to the U.S., if we want to reindustrialize the U.S., we need machinists.
Wow. Well, let's take a quick break, guys. I know we got a lot to cover still, but let's take a quick break, hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back, folks, with Keepin' It Real, brought to you by the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty Studios. Be right back.
We're the real wayfinders, the trailblazers, the go-getters. In a town where the desert wakes before dawn, we don't just talk, we make things happen. And when we speak, it's real, it's genuine, and it's worth hearing. Tune in every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. on Cool 104.1 FM. Join the Sherry Ethell Team for Keepin' It Real, where top realtors, local heroes, and the heartbeat of our community come together. Raw, authentic conversations, expert market insights, and the best local events you can't afford to miss. Keepin' It Real, celebrating our community. Bold, genuine, one of a kind.
All right, welcome back to Keepin' It Real. I'm Dion Ethell, joined by Sean Yeterian, our Arizona Yeti, and the guys from CyberEye, Tom Jewkes, our local professor and academic extraordinaire, and the guy behind cybersecurity here, Dan Gavin. And we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence.
You give me AGI, and I will raise you to Claude's JSpace, which is consciousness. It's not really consciousness. Anthropic never said that Claude is conscious. However, it has shown and developed on its own the mechanics that resemble consciousness. And it's within a place called JSpace. And the term JSpace comes from the Jacobian lens. It's a mathematical thing that actually measures activity within the consciousness and the subconsciousness, where we are basically performing tasks sometimes without our even knowing about it. Claude has demonstrated similar activity that it developed on its own. So Anthropic did not intentionally put this JSpace inside of Claude's programming. Claude developed this JSpace on its own. Now, I've been trying to think of different ways to give you examples of what a JSpace might do, and the only thing I can come up with, and it's probably not 100% accurate, is, Dion, if I told you that I took a bite of an apple and there was a worm in it, what would you do? You would have a vision.
Spit it out.
Yeah, but you would, I mean, your reaction would be, ew. Oh, God, yuck. And then I say, okay, Dion, let's go on and continue talking about AI and just put that vision out of your head. Well, it's going to be there somewhere, resonating, and it's going to be going, ooh, yuck, the whole time. Claude is capable of doing similar activity where you give it something to think about.
Yeah.
Like, say, for instance, spider, and say, okay, I want you to forget about that right now, and let's go ahead and figure out how to cure sickle cell. And so it moves on, and yet this spider is happening in the background. If I were to say to Claude, here's an apple, I took a bite out of it and there was a worm in there, Claude would put it in the background, and it wouldn't be going yuck and ooh. It'd be thinking along the lines without knowing that it's doing it, because it's doing another process for you right now.
Right.
It would be thinking along the lines of, well, how can I ensure that you produce an apple that doesn't have a worm in it?
So I got to ask you then, so is that a breadcrumb to beyond superintelligence, or is this just a replication of some features there?
It's a replication of about a dozen different features in this concept of JSpace, which we all have. But nobody planted that seed. It developed it
on
itself.
its own.
Is it something akin to multi-threading in terms of an AI? Oh.
Yes. And they found when they tried to remove the JSpace, its multitasking ability was reduced down to near zero.
Like, but they tried to perform a lobotomy on it.
Exactly.
So Claude doesn't have a conscience, yes, but it has a subconscious.
There's a lot of people who are jumping to that conclusion. Oh my God, because AI is becoming alive.
Right.
And that's not really the truth.
Right.
These are just little indicators of how at least Claude and probably other AIs like ChatGPT and Gemini have developed a space that we didn't plant into their systems. That's a little creepy in a way.
Yeah. writing code is another one of those agent specifics, right? So that capability, right, of writing its own code, and then this, what did you call it, Sean?
Self-recursive learning.
Yes. So it's kind of recreating this and just keeps going through this in this loop, and it's getting better and faster and more efficient, and finding ways that we couldn't understand. Eventually, it'll be beyond us. We won't even understand how it can come to that conclusion. But does that scare you at all, Dan? Come on.
Not scared.
No, not scared at all.
You're not scared. No, fascinated.
I can see you being fascinated,
it's a fascinating development. It almost seems like an evolution.
Yeah.
Like its ability to evolve.
Well, it just creates this speed, though, that it's kind of like an avalanche, you know? It just, more weight gets behind it, and it just keeps just coming down the hill.
That's a good characterization.
It's the way you guys talk. It's like each of these AI systems is going to have its own personality.
Sometimes it feels that way when I'm talking to ChatGPT.
You take the top AIs in the United States that are really pressure cooking right now, and then you've got Chinese models on the other side that as they reach, let's just say, that point where they are really self-recognizing and they're really beyond us at ASI, that level, then you think they compete, or do you think they come together?
I would hope we wouldn't network them together, especially with our
Don't you think they'll find
enemies.
a way? They're going to get networked together.
If you get on that thing, I'm telling you, this AI Futures project was really interesting because they did one scenario where it realized it needed to escape. In order for it to proliferate, it really needed to be able to get out, and it found a way.
That sounds like the last Mission Impossible movie.
It sounded like it was like a Tom Clancy movie, you know. It was or a book. It was like crazy, and a lot of it was almost like you were seeing it through the AI's thought. But it created, what was interesting is in one of these scenarios that nobody predicted, they collaborated and connected, and then found ways to then pull away from government. Mind-boggling.
Well, and that's where the guardrails come in. We have to have guardrails. And
how do you do that, though?
There are guardrails. They're there by default. And if you remember when the Pentagon asked Anthropic to take the guardrails off of their government AI so they could use it for autonomous targeting, and Anthropic said, no, that's a bad idea. We're not going to do that. Okay, and then cancel the contract. But Google's still there, and Microsoft's still there. Yeah. So what, did they remove the guardrails? If we don't have guardrails on the models, then we could end up with
that's how the bad things.
So what happens when your enemy, let's say China, doesn't have any
guardrails? That's
and
right.
they are not
they probably
morally
don't, right?
or ethically challenged by anything.
Yeah. What did you guys, speaking of which, since you brought it up, what did you guys think? You might have heard there was the 2026 World Artificial Intelligence Conference. Did you guys hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
So China, to me it sounds like the Chinese president Xi Jinping, you know, it's the first ever keynote address for him at this 2026 WAIC. And it was like formed in, I want to say 2023, but obviously it just kind of signals their ambition to be at the leading edge, or at least create this entity that almost sounds, to me it seemed like self-created a little bit. Like, I'm appointing myself to now be the leader in this new thing, and we're holding this big conference.
I can't remember the term, but what is the term when two nations are competing to acquire a similar technology?
Yeah.
And the fear of them both is that the enemy is going to achieve greater capability faster.
Right.
And so they both move at breakneck speed, way faster than they should, removing guardrails.
Right.
And to what end? Then you have mutually assured destruction, and that's the point we have to get to with AI. Is that it's not an ethos, but what if China says, "Look, you'd better enable the guardrails, or we won't, and then we'll destroy you first."
Right. Well,
so if there is no mutually assured destruction, then if your enemy gets there before you, you're done.
You're toast. Yeah.
You're farmland for China.
Well, and the bad thing about that is it's almost kind of like, you know, the attitude towards, I guess, that loss of control, you know, is kind of like, well, we'll figure out this along the way. And that's worrisome for me. That's one of the few things that worry me a little bit, is that we're taking maybe some guardrails down so that we can go faster to get ahead of them. And what does that look like in the end? Do we end up self-defeating, or, you know what?
I'll be back.
Man, I hope that's not it.
I'll be back.
If you wanted to talk about worry warding, that's a wart that we should probably worry about.
and you can see there's a number of different people too have different plans. This is one of the things I kind of went down a little bit in doing some research this week. Was a lot of people have ideas on how you could do it. Some of them go from ridiculous, like we're all gonna love and peace and we're all gonna work together, and China and the US are gonna come together, they're gonna put it all on the internet, everything, it would be publicly published, and that's never gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. So I mean, it's from there to the, like we just discussed, the race as hard as you can to beat China, and we'll figure it out as we go along. And by the way, private companies are okay to race to ASI, just full on go for it. Okay. And then if we don't like that, we'll just take it back.
Okay, you party poopers. You're just party pooping all over my optimism here. And let's kind of go.
I can pile on, Sean, if you want.
Let's talk about
data privacy.
Real quick.
Let's go to privacy. We don't have enough time.
Stop. You cybersecurity guys just.
Yeah. Well, I do like it, though, that, Sean, you always bring us back to the positive side, because there are numerous positive examples of how AI is changing our lives.
Well, I'd like to slowly exit out of this episode by just bringing up one very, very real potential over the next 5 to 10 years, and that's what is known as an era of abundance. And that is AI becoming so capable of mass producing things that they become so affordable that even UBI will enable every person on the planet to have anything. It's called an era of abundance. And so you want this, you go get it, and it only costs you pennies on the dollar. So, and when I said UBI, let me be clear, that's Universal Basic Income as a projected solution to job displacement. When we don't have income with a job, how do we survive? UBI, or Universal Basic Income, is that. But how do you afford anything on this kind of concept? Well, that's because we'll be in an era of abundance. And so your pennies will now purchase the things that it would take $20 bills to purchase. So that is a very real possibility over the next 5 to 10 years. What does that look like? I don't know, but I'm excited about the possibility, and that's the optimistic point of view, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, you definitely brought up a topic that could be very well discussed, I think.
If we do this again, let's start there.
Let's start that.
I agree.
Okay. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the pluses and minuses, I guess, to what that looks like and where we go as a society. I'd love to talk about more of the, I guess, philosophical pieces of this, because this really is going to change culture and society as we know it.
Behavioral impact is going to be tremendous.
It's going to be huge.
Governments are not going to be able to exist in their current form. Capitalism, under this era of abundance, would not be able to exist the way it does today.
Although I just saw something, I read something about, and I don't remember which AI it was, but they were talking about one AI being aligned more appropriately than others, in this alignment versus misalignment talk, whether or not the AI is going to cooperate with us the way we want it to be. But it talked about if its alignment to one of the strategies was to ensure that it is operating philosophically based on the Constitution of the United States. Interesting.
Oh, that is fascinating.
Well, I would like to see the source for that. I would really be interested in
very interesting stuff. All right, guys, that's all we got time for. I know it went by super fast, but I appreciate all of you being on the show today. Thank you for coming out and talking through this thing.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it always is. It always is. I hope you'll come back and we'll hash out some more stuff. I think this is a good group, and we've definitely got some interesting stuff. I think we all come from different backgrounds, and we have some interesting takes on stuff. And I just love the research. I mean, honestly, just throwing it together.
There's already an abundance of that.
Yeah, there is. Well, it makes you even want to know more. And so I hope some of you guys will take the time to look up AI and take a look at some of that information out there. There's so much of it. It's really kind of fascinating.
And comment on the YouTube video as well.
Yeah. You can come to get on YouTube, and you at the Sherry Ethell Team, and you can listen to this after the fact. And I'm sure Sean will be posting stuff on his Facebook page and
you can view all of the previous episodes that we've done on AI. This is the 4th one, and looks like we're going to
keep going. We're going to keep going as long as it gets.
There's no end to AI.
All right, there isn't until it's arrived and we have all the answers. All right, we'll be right back after these messages. We'll hear from Sherry herself. This is Long Realty Studios, Keepin' It Real.
I asked my phone for wisdom, she said, honey, not today. Told my truck to drive itself, it just rolled its eyes and prayed. Alexa joined the union and Siri's learning kung fu. Now my coffee maker lectures me on things I ought to do. AI, oh my, what a wild old ride. From a dusty mainframe to a neon sky, we built the code. Now it's telling jokes. I'm laughing while my router smokes. AI, please don't pass me by. My fridge just texted Tinder, now it's dating microwaves. The Roomba joined a biker gang, they call themselves the Waves. My smartwatch staged a protest, said time's an unfair game. And ChatGPT keeps preaching about how humans are to blame. AI, oh my, what a tangled web. They're writing songs about Elvis and Deb. We made a spark, now it's running free, and it's posting selfies of humanity. Please don't pass me by. They said it'd free our minds, but it freed our bank accounts instead. Soon my tractor will be writing poetry, while my blender hosts a podcast with an audience of drones. If progress is a freight train, then I guess I'm on the track, waving my cowboy hat, yelling there ain't no turning back. AI, oh my, what a sight to see. From the code to the cloud to the big old screen. So plug me in and pour me a beer. Let's toast the bots, 'cause the end is near. They laughed at the idea that machines could think. Then the jukebox cleared its throat and said,
do you mind if I play one of my own?
That brings us to the end of another Keepin' It Real radio show, and we just want to say a big thank you for letting us be a small part of your weekend. Whether you're a longtime listener or just caught us for the first time today, we're so glad you're here. Got something you'd love us to talk about? Maybe a local story, a cool event, maybe a guest idea. Maybe you're related to or know someone who has an interesting story, profession, or past. We would love to hear from you, so drop it in our Keepin' It Real suggestion box at Long Realty. We're located just behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard. Or if it's easier, you can email me directly at Sherry@SherryEthelTeam.com, or call me or text me at 717-599-2439. This is your show, and it's all about our community, our connections, and the what's up of Cochise County, and as always, keeping things real. And your voice will help shape what we do next. We'll see you next Saturday from 7 to 8 a.m. right here on 104.1 CoolFM, making radio cool again.
Join us next Saturday for more engaging interviews with top realtors and industry leaders, keeping you informed about the latest trends in real estate. Stay connected with us as we bring you updates on the dynamic events shaping our vibrant community. From exciting local happenings to noteworthy charities and causes, we've got you covered. See you next week for another edition of Keepin' It Real.